In this video, I am going to talk about the 8 things you must know before you file a Georgia tax appeal. Number 1, every parcel and property in any Georgia county has an annual tax assessment. In general, you should receive this tax assessment notice by the end of June. If you do not receive this annual notice of assessment by the end of June, you should call in to your county tax assessor's office and find out where it is, and if they haven't sent it out, when they will send it out. If they have already sent it out, you might just have to be patient, or you can ask them to email it to you. As I make this recording, COVID-19 is still running strong. It's my general opinion they're going to want to help their citizens as much as they can through email and fax, and not through in-person visits. Number 2, another thing you must know before you file a Georgia tax appeal is that there are 159 counties in the state of Georgia. What that means is there are 159 county tax assessors' offices that have their own way of doing things. Each office will have their own staff and their own personalities. They're going to have their own preferences, own unique ways of doing things, although all the counties are supposed to follow the same set of laws that govern the Georgia tax appeal process. Having personally dealt with well over 100 tax appeals across 4 counties in Georgia, I've spoken to tax assessors' offices that had only 1 or 2 tax assessors, and when you call in, they're the ones that pick up the phone. And I have also dealt with tax assessors' offices that are huge, like Fulton County. When you call in, you get a receptionist and they have to connect you to the correct department. They have to connect you to the right group of assessors that are working your property. For example, the Georgia Department of Revenue provides a basic PT-311A appeal form for counties to use. However, in actual practice, you will find some counties that deviate from the basic form. Some examples of that are DeKalb County in the metro Atlanta area, Chatham County in the Savannah, Georgia area, and Cobb County in the metro Atlanta area. There are many other smaller counties in Georgia that use the basic PT-311A form as provided by the Georgia Department of Revenue. However, I don't want to scare you. All the forms are actually very similar in appearance. What they have done with the basic form is that they have tweaked it, added their contact information and the name of their office, for example. The third thing you must know before you file a Georgia tax appeal is the tax office that you will be dealing with is the one where your property resides. For example, you may be a real estate investor in Fulton County. However, you may have property scattered throughout Georgia. You may have one in Cobb County. You may have one in Gwinnett County. You may have one in Muskogee County. Even though you may be living in Fulton County, you will have to deal with the 3 other county tax assessors' offices because your properties are in those counties. And when you're in that situation, it can be a challenge because each of these offices have their own way of doing things, and you have to keep track of it. The fourth thing you must know before you file a Georgia tax appeal is that you have a good chance of winning if you go through the entire process. And what I consider winning, at minimum, is having the ability to freeze your property tax assessments and values for 3 tax years. So I understand that there are many counties in Georgia where property values are pretty stagnant or they don't experience much appreciation. However, in the greater metro Atlanta area, going through the tax appeal process is very worthwhile because of the high appreciation rates throughout the area. As the appreciation occurs, you can actually freeze the valuations in terms of what you pay in property taxes for 3 tax years. As you can see, I totally recommend going through the process. I would like to add that by going through the process, there are no fees that you incur by doing it yourself. The fifth thing you must know before you file a Georgia tax appeal is that deadlines are very important. In fact, the deadlines are kind of goofy sometimes. Sometimes they allow you too much time on some of these steps of the tax appeal process. What ends up happening is the waiting process and the deadlines are so long that you can sometimes forget about the deadlines unless you put it into a calendar that you religiously check, or that it provides a reminder to you when the deadline gets closer. But I am not complaining. I would rather have much more time to meet certain deadlines than be too rushed. The sixth thing that you must know before you file a Georgia tax appeal is that you should be mindful that you're going to need to provide supporting documentation of what you're claiming. For example, the 2 biggest things that I think that all tax appeals need are photos and sales comps. Alternatively, you can provide other documents to either supplement or replace the items that I suggested. The point being is that you want to be able to credibly prove and substantiate the values that you are stating. Number 7, on the most important things you must know before you file a Georgia tax appeals is that most tax appeals can be resolved and won without ever attending a hearing. Now, this is something that I did not learn until later on. The way I learned about it is that the tax assessor's offices would reach out to me in trying to settle these cases. In my mind, I felt like I was going to have to go to a hearing in some of my tax appeals, but then the tax assessor's office would reach out to me trying to resolve the matter so that a hearing would not be necessary. It didn't take me long to figure out that nobody really wants to go to a BOE hearing because of the time constraints, the formalities, and so forth. It's way better for everyone involved if the tax assessor's office and the property owner can come to a friendly agreement and settlement. And finally, the last thing that you must know before you file a tax appeal is the tax assessor's office staff and the tax assessors themselves are actually friendly people. Now, I know it sounds like I'm being put up to say that, and that is not true. I am actually saying that based on my anecdotal experiences across the years. Now, I will give a caveat that I very much believe in being respectful, being professional when dealing with fellow professionals. I believe in being firm, but being polite in making your points. I believe in asking questions. I believe in asking for what you want. If you treat the staff and the tax assessors that you speak with, it has been my experience they will also treat you well. It doesn't always mean that you will get your way, but it does make it much easier to get through the tax appeal process and ultimately settle the case. And when you settle the case, everybody wins. If you like this video, please do me a favor, hit the like button for me. It would really mean a lot to me. And if you enjoyed this video about the Georgia tax appeals process, I will be providing updates. So please subscribe to the channel and you will be notified when I release new videos. Thank you.